Praise Ein Sof. Thank you for coming to our aid so quickly, Sister Ada.
You said it was urgent. Has something happened to Mother Miriam's body?
No, in some ways. That would have been easier. There is now a second untimely death.
Another murder. On the very same day. This can't be a coincidence.
That isn't for me to say, but this time, the victim is a younger acolyte named Isaac. His remains were found in the grave that was dug for Mother Miriam. Poor kid's throat was slit.
Gruesome. Who was at the graveyard when the body was found?
Only 3 people were present this afternoon. A scholar, an embalmer, and a grave tender. Father Augustine is a scholar, visiting for Mother Miriam's funeral. The victim was his apprentice. Sister Nerissa, an embalmer with a sterling reputation, preparing Mother Miriam's body for burial. Finally, Abraham, the grave tender, a layman who has kept the grounds of the abbey for many years. None of them say they were near the grave until after the body was discovered.
Which means someone is lying. No matter. Ein Sof sees all. We will unmask their lies and bring the truth forward. I swear it. You must be Father Augustine. The victim was your apprentice, correct?
Correct. And you are Sister Ada, the exorcist. It is a unique pleasure. I arrived at the graveyard with Isaac for Mother Miriam's funeral. Isaac headed to the mortuary on a minor errand. Then I passed through the graveyard until I saw the statue of Saint Walpurga. What craftsmanship, and so well maintained. For most of the afternoon, I was walking through the graveyard, merely observing and admiring. I arrived at the graveyard with Isaac for Mother Miriam's funeral. Isaac headed to the mortuary on a minor errand. My true reason for coming here was to find the grave of Father Sergius. Isaac was... Then, I placed my scanner in front of the gravestone. It would take some time to decode the etchings. Then I saw a stranger pass by. He was tall, barrel-chested. I think he was the groundskeeper.
Afterwards, I waited by the grave for my scanner to complete its task. It was taking longer than I expected, so I had to leave it.
When the sun was setting, I wandered to the back area to meet with Isaac and begin the funeral. At sunset, I wandered to the back area to meet with Isaac. I was surprised to find an open grave with something inside. Isaac. When I was horrified to discover that it was Isaac's dead body. That's when I called for help.
Release me! I had nothing to do with that boy.
You must be Abraham, the grave tender. As the grave tender, any crimes that took place here are your responsibility. If you are truly innocent, hide nothing, and tell me what happened. We'll find the truth together.
I spent the early afternoon tending to the bushes by the mortuary. Narissa told me there'd be an urgent funeral in the evening. I'm not usually told who it's for. So I picked up the shovel and went down to the rear plot to dig a new grave. The ground was hard. Took me some time to dig that hole. I took a long break while digging. It's within my rights. There wasn't anyone else around, so it was nice and peaceful. Then I got back to it and finished digging the grave. When the grave was ready, I walked back to the mortuary to let Narissa know. When I headed back to the mortuary, Narissa told me there was nothing else special to do for the day. So I left her to her work. I walked through the mortuary, then headed downhill towards the benches. I walked through the mortuary, then headed downhill towards the benches. The ground was hard. When the grave was ready, I walked back to the mortuary to let Narissa know. When the grave... When I passed by the grave, it was still empty, ready for the funeral. I walked through the walls to reach the front field. I suppose that's when the scholar saw me. I spent the remainder of the afternoon resting on a bench. I walked through and I had a sickle with me because I wanted to trim the grass around a grave in the front field. I had a sickle with me because I wanted to trim the grass around a grave in the front field.
Praise Ain Soph. You must be the famed exorcist. It is an honor, sister. I'm Nerissa, and I serve Ain Soph by preparing the dead for burial. I take pleasure in providing cleanliness and comfort for bodies after their souls have departed.
I see. Nerissa, how did you know the victim?
Not at all. The first time I saw him, he was curled in that grave, dirty and bloody. The whole afternoon, I prepared Mother Miriam's body for burial. There isn't much else to tell. Early this afternoon, I informed Abraham of the funeral scheduled for this evening. Grave to tell. Once Abraham left, I started preparing the body for burial. I was alone the entire time. No one came by. The truth is that the apprentice did come by. He asked for a bouquet for the funeral later that day. When I showed him the bouquet, he held it for a moment and then threw it on the floor. I suppose it wasn't to his master's tastes. I forgot to pick it back up. Then the boy asked to be taken to the rear fields before the funeral, so I led him out the back exit. The truth is, then the boy asked to be taken to the rear field before the funeral, so I let him out the back exit. Mid-afternoon, Abraham barged into the mortuary, bellowing that the grave is now ready. I sent him away to focus.
There isn't no.
Pardon. After Abraham's disturbance, I completed the embalming to the best of my humble abilities. The truth is, that after Abraham left, I noticed that my multi-tool wasn't in my pocket. I searched all over the mortuary for it, but it was missing. I did what I could without I did what I could without making new incisions, but that made things slower and messier. I'm not pleased with the results. After Abraham left, I noticed that my multi-tool wasn't in my pocket. I searched all over the mortuary for it, but it was missing. Mid-afternoon, I was desperate to find the tool to finish my work. I tried searching outside, but I couldn't find anything in the rain. I did what I could. I was desperate to find the tool to finish my work. I tried searching outside, but I couldn't find anything in the rain.
Ain Suf sees all, Nerissa. You are the only person who could have killed Isaac. Do you deny it?
Curse you, and curse Ain Suf. How can the eye see all? Does it see my suffering? Where was Ain Suf when my family was dying in the street, chewing on leather just to live another day?
The famine was a test, Nerissa. Ain Suf wanted you to demonstrate your faith, your will to live.
Have you ever felt true hunger? When you haven't eaten for days, reality shifts. The body needs.
We all have our challenges set out before us, Nerissa. Some more difficult than others.
Do you think I was the only one that fed on human flesh?
It's not for me to judge what you did back then. That's between you and your confessor. But today, you murdered an innocent youth so that you could feed on his liver. A daemon has possessed you. Confess, Nerissa. Speak the truth. It is time.
Early this afternoon, I informed Abraham of the funeral scheduled for this evening. I'm grave to tell. The truth is, that boy did come by. He asked for a bouquet for the funeral later that day. I'm grave to tell. When I brought him to the bouquet table, I don't know what came over me. The hunger clenched my belly suddenly. I've seen the butchers do it. It only took a quick slash to his throat, and he fell to the floor. I knew where to get the best cut. His liver. It was still warm. I couldn't believe the taste. Like nothing I've eaten before. Heavenly. Then, Abraham barged into the mortuary, bellowing that the grave is now ready. I sent him away to focus. My senses were returning, and I cleaned up my mess. I sealed the boy's body, putting the liver from the body I had been embalming inside and sealing it. I carried him to the new grave and quickly tossed him in. I heard someone coming, so I didn't have time to bury him. I was shaking with adrenaline. In my hurry to return to the mortuary, my multi-tool must have slipped out of my apron's pocket. I stored what was left of the liver among the other entrails, hoping to finish it later. I wanted to savor its deep, rich flavors. Sooner than I anticipated, I heard a scream from the backfield. Someone had already discovered the body.
Nerissa's wretched soul is twisted by daemonic influence. I must speak the daemon's true name. Then the daemon will be cast out and be banished to the ether. Ain Suf, guide me. What daemon has possessed Nerissa? Out, Beelzebub! Leave this soul and return whence you came!
No! We must feed! Nerissa, delicious, scrumptious little morsel. We must have more. The hunger is an endless pit. More!
Speak, Beelzebub. Why has your kind returned?
Hunger is a primal need. just as you feed on lesser life forms, growing them in captivity for slaughter. We feed on you, the meat of your emotions, the marrow of your deepest desires.
You will prey upon us no longer, Beelzebub. Return to the ether, and never come back.
I must obey for now, but we won't be gone too long. Tonight, Lucifer will open the gates of hell. I won't be the only one allowed to feast. Ada, you juicy little morsel, we shall devour you soon. You and all the other delicacies.
Nerissa. Do you hear me, Nerissa? Was I too late? Goodbye, Nerissa. May Ain Soph make you whole again.
So this is the power of an exorcist. I've dreamed of seeing this. It looks a bit different than I imagined, however. What's happening to her?
Ada, look out!
Huh?
Halt, Nerissa! Good, I've stunned her. Are you all right, Sister Ada?
Yes. You came just in time. My thanks, Virgil.
Ain Soph, save us! Another possession! Another killing! How is this possible? Who is responsible? Virgil, you have failed us. How could you allow this to happen?
Unfortunately, Father, I believe you are primarily responsible. We should have listened to Ada. She warned us about the contaminated body, and its demons spread, just as she said.
We must act now. We can't waste any more time bickering about who's to blame. The daemon within Nerissa spoke of Lucifer's return. He walks among us.
It's perverse that they would return now on the holiest of days. Why? Are we being punished?
It doesn't matter why. The Abbey is unsafe, Father. Cancel the Mass. Send the pilgrims home. If you proceed, you are risking all their lives.
No, Father, you must stay the course. We've worked too hard for this moment. I have decoded the ancient hymn of communion. The Mass can proceed as planned. This chance will not come again for another century. It's literally the last chance we have in our lifetimes.
What is the significance of that hymn? Why must it be sung tonight?
According to Augustine's research, it honors Saint Walpurga and her victory, in a way uniquely pleasing to Ain Soph.
I protest. But if you absolutely must hold the Mass, at least allow me to guard you at the altar. You are putting yourself in danger. What if you were possessed?
That may be unwise, Father. Surely if things are as dangerous as you say, nobody should be trusted. How do we know this supposed exorcist is not the pawn of Lucifer?
That's absurd! You witnessed the exorcism!
No, I saw her turn a woman into a rabid beast. What really transpired in the ether when she supposedly exorcised these demons? She invokes the demons' names. She knows them more intimately than any of us.
I speak their names to control them and then banish them. You know this.
Or perhaps you are being used by them. How would we know?
The only thing that possesses me is the flame of Ain Soph. I shouldn't have to defend myself.
Actually, what Augustine says makes sense. We should be extra cautious, just in case. I don't want you at the Mass. If you truly believe Lucifer lurks at my abbey, find him. Unmask him. Search the grounds as you like, but stay away from the chapel or I will have you put in a cell. Nothing can be permitted to interrupt the Mass and the hymn. Especially after the events of today, Saint Walpurga deserves to be honored for her victories. Inquisitor, Augustine, come. We have much to prepare.
Very wise, Father, as always. Farewell, sister.
It would be best if you were wrong, Ada.
That's because it is. Lucifer will strike tonight, Virgil. I only pray he strikes at me instead of at the Mass. Stay vigilant.